Paul, you are at it again with a new tool called CampaignsGPT that just dropped. Now, this tool uses the same technology and methodology to break down different types of business campaigns into tasks and assess each one's exposure to AI. So you just give CampaignsGPT a type of campaign you want to assess. For instance, product launch, lead generation, or change management. And the tool will actually break down that campaign into tasks and subtasks. Those tasks and subtasks are then labeled according to their exposure to AI. So, exposure here means the ability for a large language model to reduce the time it takes to complete tasks with equivalent or greater quality than an average skilled professional. Now, what's really cool is this tool can be used across business units, not just marketing. It includes marketing, sales, service, HR, finance, and more. So, Paul, maybe kick us off here by walking us through why you created Campaigns GPT and why people should be using this.
Yeah, so this was actually built sort of at the same time as Jobs GPT. So when I built Jobs GPT, I was playing around with the same kind of instructions, building the custom GPT. And the reason we did this is like when Mike and I teach AI adoption in enterprises, the applied AI workshop that Mike's leading at Macon uses the same concepts, these frameworks. So what we do is we teach people, if you want to get value out of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, other large language models, one of the best ways to do it is to look at what you already do and find ways to infuse AI into those processes. And so the first thing we'll teach, and again, Mike runs through this in the workshop model, is to look at your job and say, what are the things you do every day, every week, every month? Create a list. What are the tasks that go into that job? And that's where Jobs GPT came from. It's like, let's help people accelerate this process. The second thing we'll teach people is look at the campaigns you run. And again, I think campaigns are most commonly thought of in the marketing realm. Like
Mm,
when we came up in the marketing agency world, we ran campaigns for clients. That's what we did. So whether it's like influencer marketing, lead gen and nurturing, product launches, monthly analytics reports, price optimization, rebranding, SEO, our weekly podcast, these are all campaigns. They're a collection of tasks designed to achieve a goal. So we think about in marketing, but it does apply to all these other areas. Salespeople run business development, customer referral, market expansion, new product launches, customer service does customer onboarding, customer retention, customer service training. Like there's all these campaigns, these ongoing repetitive series of tasks that are designed to achieve goals. And so the idea with this product was one, let's just start there. Think about your job and then think about the campaigns you run. And if you just do those two things, you're going to find all kinds of use cases for AI. So Campaigns GPT does two things. So one is at that kind of practitioner level, it identifies and automates use cases. So it helps you find the things you already do and then figure out which ones AI can help you with. The second component is more for the business leader, where it's helping people analyze what goes into planning and running campaigns, and then look 1 to 2 years out as these models get smarter and more generally capable, and figure out how those models are going to affect your staff, your strategies, your budgets, your timelines. And so that's kind of how it's structured is you can just go in there and have it identify use cases based on campaigns that you already run. You can upload your existing campaigns if you want. It'll just tell you, your own tasks, which ones can be automated and time saved and things like that. Or you can just give it a campaign type like an influencer marketing campaign and it'll break it into tasks and subtasks. So, again, there's these two audiences you're trying to create a single tool for. But from what we've heard with Jobs GPT, people are finding a ton of value in this. So I
mm.
think that's now been used like 13 or 1400 conversations with that tool that we launched a couple weeks ago. And so, yeah, that's the idea here is like just put these tools out that help people get to adoption faster, but also help business leaders start doing the kind of impact assessments that we think are really, really important to the future of work and to preparing to reskill and upskill our workforces as these models get smarter and they're able to do more and more of the work. And so that's the idea with the exposure key is, when we think about what the models are capable of today, they're largely capable of text inputs and text outputs. So they can do some image, obviously with Gemini and ChatGPT, you can do image inputs and image outputs to a degree. Video is kind of a standalone thing right now. It's not baked into these language models. They don't have advanced reasoning capabilities yet. We'll talk a little bit more about reasoning and some of the topics later in this episode. They're not highly persuasive yet. Like they have some persuasion capabilities, but they don't
Mm,
really have those things. And so the exposure key is basically looking at as these models develop these other abilities, then what is the impact that they have on campaigns and jobs? So yeah, you can check it out. Just go to smarterx.ai and then click on tools, and jobs and campaigns GPT are both right there. The way this one works is there's three conversation starters. If you've never used like a custom GPT, you can kind of set what the conversation starters are. So this one says enter a campaign type to assess. So you can just say, sales pipeline analysis or whatever your campaign type is, and it'll automatically create all the tasks. And then you can say, okay, cool, break it into subtasks. You can, the other conversation starters provide a campaign with tasks to assess, where you just upload your own or copy and paste your own. And the other one is just show me an example assessment so you can get a sense of how it works. So the final thing I'll say is like it is built. It's a Chat GPT tool, so it can make stuff up. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be right all the time. But the beauty of this is you can talk to it like you would Chat GPT. Like think of this thing as a planning assistant. Don't just stop at like a single assessment or output. Have a conversation with it. Ask it to break into subtasks or talk about how it's prioritizing tasks or to help you prioritize which ones to focus on. And just try it out. Like it's meant to be kind of a research tool, a planning tool, and it's very much a beta product for us. It's just kind of get this stuff out into the world and see how it can help people. And you've played with it, Mike. I mean, you and I
yep,
kind of went back and forth on it. What were
yep.
your initial reactions to it?
What I love is that it removes what I would see as the final barriers to getting started with this type of planning. Because as we've talked about over the years, there are still some barriers of like when you sit down with someone in a workshop, for instance, they still can have trouble coming up like thinking logically or sequentially through as about their job or their campaign as a bundle of tasks. Not everyone thinks that way. Like that comes naturally in different ways to different people. So this is literally you have no real excuse here. When you
Yeah.
sit down in front of it, even if you don't have some grand plan of the transformation you want to go through, just type in your title with Jobs GPT or just type in what you are working on right now with Campaigns GPT. And I think in as the final note here, I would have it's that makes it a really good tool to share if you're a listener with your executives too.
Yeah.
Because as a listener, you're going to probably be a little ahead of the curve, I would think, and you're going to have a great time using these tools and get a lot of value out of them. But these are also really good to just forward to people on your team you're trying to convince of the need for change management and also to just show them what's possible today.
Yeah, and the applied AI workshop I mentioned, like Mike's running that at Maycom, but Mike and I run those things year round for companies and like private engagements. We'll run these workshops. And just to give you a practical sense of how you can use these things, when we teach these frameworks, we'll then say, okay, you've got 20 minutes. Here's a template. Start writing down what you do or what campaigns you're running. And so we would spend 20 minutes of a 3.5 hour workshop, almost 10% of the workshop, basically,
Mm.
or whatever that comes out to, with people just staring at blank pages, trying to like think of those tasks, like you said, Mike. And that's not a natural thing, especially when you're on the spot and like, okay, I only have 20 minutes. I got to think about this. So part of the idea here and how we're kind of like reinventing how these workshops run is like, okay, now think about the campaigns you run, but put them in here. Just like quick brainstorm, put the kinds of campaigns you run. And then like now all of a sudden you've got dozens or hundreds of tasks where it's like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
so the whole idea is just again accelerate adoption by getting this manual part out of the way and like helping people just get those ideas flowing. And that's oftentimes where you see in workshops that that blank page and people just kind of staring around the room or like kind of
Yeah.
looking for some inspiration. So that's part of the reason for it.